up, y'all? Welcome to the R to the J podcast. If you guys like what we're doing over here and you want to show us support, go ahead and like, comment, and share the video. It helps the channel grow. So with that being said, today we're going to talk to Julia about the importance of voting. Hi, Julia. How are you doing today? Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I know we met over there. It was the HPAC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I met a lot of people, interesting people there. And it was like my first time being there. So I was kind of exposed to everybody who like business owner who want to be active in the community, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I know we talked briefly about do you want to get together to show people how to register to vote? Because we know how it's election year this year. It's almost every year, right? Well, not every year, or is it? Do you know?
Yes. So there are elections in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry.
Oh, you're good.
There are elections in some way every year. So this year, it's the presidential election. So everybody's talking about that one. They're talking about Trump versus Harris, or before, Trump versus Biden. And that happens every 4 years.
Yeah.
And most people, we know about that one.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of other offices. There's the people in Washington and in Austin that represent us. There's mayors, there's the county judge, there's all these different things that happen. And when you spread them all out, there's almost something to vote for every year, basically. So
yeah, because then every 2 years it's like the Senate and the House or something like that.
The House.
Okay, that's how that works. Right? And then I think locally, is it every year or is it every 2 years as well?
It depends on where you live. So right now, if you look at the ballot, and I'll show you how to look at your ballot if you live in Jefferson County. But so Groves, I think, has some people up for election, but not Port Arthur, not Beaumont, not any other cities. So it depends on where you live, depending on how often you get to vote for your school board, for your mayor, for your county officials. And that's a big reason why people don't vote, is because it's very confusing.
Yeah.
And it's not, because half the time the answer is, it depends.
Yeah. So I forgot to ask you first. Well, before everybody, I started asking, who's this? I mean, so who is Julia? So it was why should we be listening to Julia? What does she know?
Well, I'm just a nerd, and
You're just a nerd?
yeah, just a nerd. So,
but actively, for the community.
That's a nice way of putting it. But so I just in terms of specifically, why you should listen to me in terms of like this particular thing about voting. I did not, I've been registered to vote since I was 18, but I didn't vote for the first time until 2016. And I won't get, political in terms of like telling you who to vote for.
Yeah.
But I will say that I personally was, I wanted Bernie Sanders to win in 2016. I was very anti-Trump. And that was the first time I ever voted. And when I went to the voting booth for the first time, I didn't know how to work the machine. I didn't know who else was on the ballot. I just knew, at the top. And then I saw all of these names and all of these positions, and I was like, who are...
You need money more, pretty much, right? Like,
right.
Who to pick. Yeah,
right.
I had the same experience a couple of times too. Like, okay, I don't even know who these people are,
Exactly. And it's overwhelming. And to me, I felt kind of upset. I was like, what if I'm accidentally voting in someone that I don't agree with? And so from that point, I started doing a lot of research and kind of teaching myself how to navigate that. And I've been in the Democratic Party since 2016. I actually ran for office in 2022. That's a whole different story. But I've learned a lot, and a lot of it I've just had to teach myself, because there's not really anywhere you can...
No course in school and stuff like that for this topic. Yeah. Right.
Or like a database where you can look something up, or anything. It's just
self-learn, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm a voter registrar, so that means the state of Texas recognizes me as someone who can register people to vote. And I took a class and got a certification, and which anybody can get. Anybody who can vote can go and be a voter registrar as well, and just have stayed active locally in terms of knowing who's in office and what the office does and stuff.
Yeah, and your job in that, when you're doing that, is pretty much helping people how to vote, right? Not to persuade to vote, just how to vote, pretty much.
Yes. So as a voter registrar, it is illegal to tell anybody who to vote for. All you can do is help them. Now, if you are working with a campaign, like say you're running for mayor, and I was with you, and I'm telling people to register, I can certainly do that, and as long as I'm upfront and be like, I am traveling with the mayoral candidate, but it is like, so that's not illegal, but I can't say, okay, I'm going to register you to vote, but only if you're going to vote for this candidate. Like, nobody's allowed to you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So when someone's like, hey, can I vote? Absolutely. I just teach them, I help them figure out how to register and if they're registered and where to go and things like that.
Oh, okay. So why do you think it is important to vote?
This is so, it's one of those things that people have a lot of opinions on, because a lot of people feel like their vote doesn't matter, and that's why they don't vote. They feel like there's no point. And
especially when it comes to the local voting, right? You get a lot less people voting for the county or whatever, or mayor of the city.
Absolutely. And in a lot of ways, it's way more important to vote in those elections, like the smaller ones, than it is presidential.
Yeah, because the presidential it's almost like the lay of the law, or what law of the land or whatever, something like that. It just kind of varies, but it stays kind of, it could vary as well.
Because like when you're looking at presidential, there's millions of other people that are voting. But when you're talking about the Port Arthur school district, that's just the people that in your town and in your city, and what the people who are elected or the propositions that are passed directly influence how you live your life. So let's say the school district, since we're talking about them, let's say they said they were going to do a bond, and that would raise taxes. If this actually happened in Sabine several years ago. So there was, after Hurricane Harvey, Sabine ISD, they put out a bond. They were going to raise taxes almost 100%. It was very high.
Oh, wow.
So if you were paying 10 cents per square footage on your property taxes, or however it works, then it was going to be like almost $1. There were like less than 200 people that went out and voted, and it was split like 88 to 89. So by one vote, everybody's property taxes shot up almost 100%.
Wow.
So your little tax bill went from like $2,000 to like $4,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's an example I love telling people, because I'm like, the people who just did not vote, they just sat out, it still affected them.
Yeah.
They still had to pay that property tax bill.
And I guess some of this stuff, a lot of people don't get the information, or probably, I don't know if they broadcast those votes or elections and the local media. So that's probably something that people need to be more active.
Yes. I mean, so they do talk about it in the newspapers and on TV and stuff, but you as a voter have to pay attention. And anytime you drive by the library or the courthouse, if you start seeing signs, then you're like, okay, I need to start paying attention to what's happening.
I can imagine, like, I think so, I'm not sure, but I believe that a lot of people are probably not watching that much TV as they used to, and reading newspaper as well too. So I think that's what probably causing a lot of people not going up to vote.
Right. And I mean, it's like, we hate to hear it, but you have to be kind of accountable for your own like learning. Like you have to make it a priority. Like, you don't have to watch the news every day, but you need to maybe follow KFDM or one of the anchors on Twitter or something, so that whenever they start talking about elections, you're like, oh, okay, now I can learn more about that.
Yeah.
But even if it's something you don't think you care about, like a school board
Mm-hmm.
election. Oh, I don't have kids, or all my kids are grown. That's not something I have to pay attention to. And then all of a sudden your tax bill goes up almost 100%.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm guessing, is there like a website that tells you like when all of these elections coming up?
So locally, yes,
Yes.
kind of. It's the Jefferson County elections page, and I can get a link to it. And they update it pretty regularly, but it'll show you where you can go vote. It'll show you what times it's open. It'll show you like when you go vote, who everybody's names, all those like names and positions.
Yeah.
So you can start researching, early, and you can take that in there with you. But it'll tell you what elections are coming up in Jefferson County.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there is a resource. You just got to go to it.
Okay. And how can you register to vote anyways?
So the last day of voting is the last day to register to vote in the state of Texas so that you can vote in the November election is Monday, October 7th. So in Texas, you have to be registered to vote 30 days before the election. In other states, you can get registered to vote the day of. Just walk in and be like, hey, register to me to vote, and then you go vote.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a little too fast right there. I believe. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could argue it either way.
Yeah.
I personally don't think so, because there's a lot of people who forget.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But like, if you, let's say, so this happened in 2020. I saw it a lot because I worked the polls at Lamar University.
Uh-huh.
So there were a lot of students who were so excited. They're like, I'm going to vote for the first time. And then their vote did not count because they were not registered. They had registered maybe the week before or 2 weeks before.
Oh, so you could go actually still go vote, but then it won't count because you're not registered to vote.
Right. They didn't register on time.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yes. And you get a letter in the mail that tells you your vote didn't count. But there were several students their names didn't pop up, in the database, and so we gave them, the opportunity to vote, and they were super excited. And I just looked at them. I didn't say anything, so I'm not supposed to, but I was just like, your vote is not going to count because you didn't register on time. And it's not.
So
Yeah.
you could see it, but you can't tell them that it's not going to count at the moment.
Right. Because then that's almost like voter suppression. If you tell someone, oh, I know your vote's not going to count.
Oh, yeah.
Then they're going to feel discouraged.
Yeah, yeah.
But the state sent them a letter, and said, hey,
Yeah.
it didn't count. So you find out. But that kind of stuff was happening because people don't know you have to be registered 30 days before.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're like, oh, I can go vote in like 2 weeks and you get registered, you can vote in the future, but you can't vote for that election.
Yeah.
That happened a lot in 2020, and that was sad to see.
I could imagine this registration, you could actually apply for it, or there's a form on the internet, right?
So that's another crazy thing. In other states, you can register on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And in our country, like, you can get a bank account, you can buy a car online, you can, Amazon boxes to your house every day. You cannot register to vote online in the state of Texas. So you can find the application online, you have to print it, and then take it to the courthouse.
But that's your first time, right? Voting? No, really? Because the reason I asked, because when I moved into this house, 2 years ago, they automatically send me my registration to vote. So it update my things. So I didn't have to go there.
That's super interesting. That didn't come from the state. It might have come from a political party or something.
Yeah, I'll show you my card just to make sure that I'm good. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yes.
Because I'm definitely gonna want to vote this year, and I need to do my research on all the candidates and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, good thing I asked that question. We'll get to later.
Yeah.
Get together.
And the rules have changed over time. So I don't know specifically how that happened with you, but I know right now, like, you can't do anything online. And if someone sends you something in the mail, cool, but you have to go to the courthouse.
It might be maybe because since I updated my driver license, it might have just been automatically. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. And we talked already about when to register to vote.
Yep.
It's Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
October 7th. So remember that, guys. Okay, so other important question: who can vote legally? Pretty much.
That's a great question. So you have to be over the age of 18. You have to be a United States citizen, not just like a holder. Like there's visas and there's permits
Green
and
cards,
stuff.
residence.
Green cards,
Yeah.
residents. Yes, residents. That's the correct word. You have to be a citizen, not just a resident, and you can't have a felony.
Okay.
So if you've been convicted of a felony, you've got to go through all of the hoops to make sure that you're not in jail, you're not in probation, everything. Because if you're still on probation for a felony and you vote, that can get you in trouble in Texas, unfortunately. So if you're not a felon, you're over 18, you're a citizen, and a judge has never said that you're like legally like mentally incapacitated, then you can vote.
Yeah, and you have to be you have to register or vote at where you register as well. Like in Texas, like just because you register in Texas doesn't mean you could go vote in Louisiana, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you have to be registered. So that's a great question. So let's say someone moved to Port Arthur from Houston. If you're registered in Houston, you can't vote for like local stuff. Like you can't vote for the Houston mayor in Port Arthur, but you can vote for president.
Yeah.
So if you're registered in Texas and you're traveling for work or whatever, you can go and at a courthouse usually, and you can vote for president. You can vote for statewide stuff, but you would not be able to vote for the local stuff. So if there's a really important race where you live, you want to vote in your county. And then the good thing about Jefferson County specifically is you can vote anywhere in Jefferson County. So if you live in Port Arthur but you work in Beaumont or work in Nederland or something like that, you can vote in a place out there. You don't have to come all the way back home to try to vote. So
yeah,
that's cool.
The reason why I was asking is because one of last election I was traveling all the time, so and I would come back and I think the voting was closed on Saturdays and Sundays, right? So I didn't have the opportunity to vote just because I was out of the state pretty much.
Well, and that's really, it's tough because if you know you're going to be out of the state, you can apply to do a mail vote, and they give you the ballot early, so you can try to fill out before you're going to go into town. But that deadline has already passed in Texas. Unfortunately. So there's a lot of planning, and that's another reason why a lot of people don't do it, because you have to be thinking about it like basically 2 months in advance, like if you're going to be traveling or if you're moving or whatever, and even registering to vote 30 days before. So there's a lot of planning, and people are like, oh, that's too much. And it's a lot. It is a lot, particularly in Texas, but it just kind of, that's how it is. And so you have to play the game as the rules are laid out.
Okay. So also, next question I was going to ask you was, where can we vote?
So, and like I mentioned, Jefferson County, there's lots of places. And the same website that we were talking about earlier, the Jefferson County elections, which you'll have a link for, it will show you every place for early voting and for actually on election day.
Yeah.
And if you're in Jefferson County, then you can go to any of them. Libraries are usually always a good place where someone's voting.
Yeah, I usually go to one in Ninth Avenue. I usually go there to vote.
And then a courthouse or a sub-courthouse is usually always, like if you don't know where to go, you can always go to a courthouse, and there's probably going to be voting there.
Okay. There you can mail in, but that time probably already passed, right?
Yeah, because in Texas you have to apply to be considered to be a mail-in, and then they say yes, we'll mail you your ballot, or no, we won't. And if they won't, then you got to go vote in person.
Yeah, I think we touched a little bit. I was going to ask you about the voting once every 4 years, but as you talked about already, it's just presidential, right? And then Senate and House every 2 years. Local elections could be every year for local elections?
Usually not. Usually they're 2 or 4.
Oh, 2 or 4? Okay. And How about you thinking? Question I was just thought about. You think it'd be a good idea if I start like maybe right now, asking people who are candidates if they want to come in the podcast to see if they, could talk to them about their ideas to help out the community and why they're running for it. You think that'd be a good idea?
I think you could. I think what you would need to do though is, do you have like if you have a microphone on the go or like a little lavalier or something, or even just your phone, because they're going to be running around crazy.
They ain't gonna have time to go.
I mean, I'm not saying they won't, but
Yeah.
it'll be easier to catch someone.
Yeah.
And,
Okay, I got you.
and be like, hey, do you have 10 minutes to talk to me really quick before you run, or something? Because early voting starts October 24th, I believe. I'll double check that. And so between now and that date, people are trying to get their message out and, be like, this is why you should vote for me, and whatever. So because once early voting starts, and the numbers start getting tabulated, they're still going to be working, but that's kind of, the like internal deadline,
Yeah.
So if you can start reaching out to them. Some of the people who would be the easiest to get a hold of are people who are not incumbents, so not the ones who already hold the seat, but the other people,
Yeah.
because their schedule's not as packed.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, and I guess that'd be something I could consider doing to see how that goes. Any last words you think that you could give out to the people, the viewers?
Yeah. So and I know and because we were talking about this off camera before we started, there's a lot of information and it feels really hard to go through sometimes. And especially since there's not like a database or a central place where everything lives. And it's okay to be overwhelmed and it's okay to be frustrated, because, it is a lot of information. But ultimately, like if you really think about it, all of the blessings you have in your life, and all of the detriments you have in your life, you can almost pinpoint at some point to someone in charge making a decision that, affected you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so if, for example, the easiest thing to talk to right now is the Texas abortion ban.
Mm-hmm.
So if if a woman is if she loses her baby, if she miscarries,
Yeah.
there's a very high chance that she could die as well, because if you go to a doctor in Texas, they might not do the procedure to remove
The fetus. Yeah.
because it's the same procedure as an abortion.
Yeah.
And they don't want to get in trouble, right? So there are people who have died and will die in Texas because someone else made a decision about their lives.
Yeah, that's always a gray area. Sometimes I feel like sometimes people could go too far left on the idea or whatever, or too far right. It's always gotta be somewhere in the middle that people have to meet up. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. And I mean, like anybody's personal decision or, personal like opinions about it, your opinions are your opinions. But the reality is someone sat in a room and made a decision, and this is the effect in that way.
Yeah.
But it also has to do with like, jobs, right? Like what jobs are available, what qualifications for that jobs, who can have those jobs, how much those jobs make, minimum wage, like almost everything in your life, you can tie back to some people sitting in a room and making a decision. And you want to be someone who has a voice in who sits in that room.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's important to kind of think about it in that way.
Yeah. Here's one final question. Do you think, this is the way I think, about voting. I don't see it like it's a right. I see it more as it's like a privilege. So it's still right, but it's more like a privilege. So I think you should educate yourself of the way to vote, but then also the candidates you're going to vote.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just blindly vote for the one person just for whatever reason.
Right. And I would agree to an extent. I do think that it's a right in the sense that, like I said, if someone's going to be making a decision that affects your life, it's your right to, to have a say in that.
Mhm.
But you're also correct that it is a privilege, because there are other places in the world, and even in the United States, there were people, who lived here who were not given the right to vote. Even people right now, undocumented people can't vote,
Yeah.
but they're still paying taxes. They're driving on the roads. Their
Yeah.
kids are going to school. They are citizens, but they can't vote, so their voices are not heard.
Yeah.
And so there's people who also, like, if you can vote, they need you as well.
Yeah.
So you're right. It is a privilege that, some people are able to vote when there are people who can't. But, and I think I agree, you need to do your research on all the candidates, and not just say, oh, I'm a Republican, so I'm going to go all Republican, or I'm a Democrat, I'm going to go all Democrat. Like, what do they actually stand for,
Exactly.
and how is that going to affect your life?
Yeah. I would say disregard what the media says, whatever media you listen to, and just do your own homework sometimes. You just dig a little deeper and see which candidate you like. All right. Any final words? Anything before we get? No. All right, guys. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know if you guys think that I should start maybe reaching out to some of these candidates in the future, so that way when it's time to vote again, we can see what they want, what their vision is. All right. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. All right. Peace out.